it is time for us to adopt a new company brand to encompass everything that we do.
Remember how, for a few years, we were all being sold the same vision of the future? Very soon, they said, you would wake up, put on a headset, and literally step into another world. You would work not in a boring Zoom grid, but in a virtual office. You would meet friends in a bar that didn't exist. You would go to concerts, calls, even dates, without leaving your couch. That was the promise of the metaverse. And one man staked not just a few billion to experiment, but tens of billions of dollars, essentially the reputation and future of his company, on the idea that we would actually want to live there. That man was Mark Zuckerberg. But what most people don't know is just how close he came to quietly killing that dream, and how a small, almost invisible group of players forced him to turn around. At the peak of the hype, it really did look like a new golden age of tech. Instead of scrolling a flat phone screen, you were supposed to step inside the internet. Facebook even changed its name to Meta to make it clear. This wasn't a side project. This was the new direction of the company. Billions flowed into headsets, avatars, engines, infrastructure, and into one flagship world called Horizon, the front door to this new reality. Inside Meta, no one treated it as a risky little experiment. This was the next chapter of the company. The idea that was supposed to justify years of losses and explain to investors why it was acceptable to burn through $10 billion a year. Reality Labs, the VR and AR division, was bleeding money so fast, analysts were double-checking the numbers every quarter, as losses climbed into the tens of billions, and ultimately around $80 billion over several years. If you like stories where trillion-dollar companies make bets this insane, and reality still tells them no, subscribe to Wealth Playbook. It only gets stranger from here. From the outside, it looked like a classic visionary move. Everybody doubts him. He alone sees the future. On the inside, everything boiled down to one gigantic bet. If we build the new world, people will come. People did not come. Most tried VR a couple of times and then drifted back to their phones and laptops. Headsets were heavy, uncomfortable to wear for long, batteries died quickly, worlds felt empty if your friends weren't online, and convincing people to all put on a headset at the same time turned out to be much harder than in the promo videos. The dream of living in the metaverse looked great in trailers and keynotes, but on a random Tuesday night after work, it felt like too much effort. Horizon did find a small but very real core audience. Thousands of dedicated fans, creators, and enthusiasts who actually spent hours there, built worlds, and took it seriously. These are the kind of people who will live in any new world as long as it still exists. For a company the size of Meta, that was nowhere near enough. Inside, the numbers kept getting heavier. Every quarter, Reality Labs set new loss records, and analysts increasingly described the division as a money pit or a black hole. Investors started pushing harder, demanding cuts, and asking why Meta was still pouring so much into a dream the mass market clearly wasn't buying. Meta laid off thousands of employees, including in VR. But in public, they kept repeating the same line. The metaverse is our future. We're just playing the long game. That story held until March 2026, when a very different one started to leak out. Inside Meta, plans were being drawn up for a move that, in plain language, sounded like this. Take Horizon out of VR, turn it into a regular mobile app, quietly step away from the metaverse as the company's main product of the future. In public statements, everything sounded much softer. They talked about reaching a wider audience, focusing on mobile users, making the experience available without a headset. But the reality was blunt. The VR version was losing its status as the flagship, and attention plus resources were being pulled back to the flat, phone-based world. The main door to the metaverse was being turned into just another icon in the App Store. After more than $80 billion spent on VR and AR, Meta was preparing to pull its flagship metaverse world out of the very platform it was built to sell. VR, and do it as quietly as possible. Only it didn't stay quiet. The people who still lived in that world every day noticed immediately. For the general public, the metaverse had already turned into a meme or a forgotten trend. But for the small community inside Horizon, this was their place, their stage, their home. These were the people who believed Meta when the company said, "Build here. We're building the future." When it became clear that the VR version was basically being abandoned, their reaction wasn't just emotional. It was furious. Players and creators felt betrayed. Years of work, entire worlds, countless hours, all of it now at risk of being downgraded into an add-on for a mobile side project. Very quickly, the tone on social media, forums, and in the tech press flipped. The story "VR is dead" was replaced by a new one. Meta is abandoning the people who believed it. For a company whose entire business depends on networks and communities, a visible rebellion from its own core users isn't just noise, it's direct risk. Meta had to respond. Within days, the official line changed again. The company announced that Horizon would in fact stay in VR. The full shutdown of the VR version was cancelled. The worlds would keep running, and users could continue visiting the places they built. On the surface, it sounded like a neat little story. We heard our community, we stand with them. But if you read between the lines, the real meaning was different. Meta was no longer planning to seriously develop Horizon as a VR platform. The main priority from now on would be the mobile version, and above that, artificial intelligence. The VR door would remain open, but the lights, the music, and the budget were slowly being moved to another room. From the outside, you could write it off as just another product pivot. One more app changing strategy, one more service moving screens. But if you zoom out, you see something Meta almost never does: a public U-turn on the biggest bet in its history. For years, Mark Zuckerberg insisted that VR and the Metaverse were not just some experiment, but the next stage of the internet. He rebranded the company, accepted multi-billion-dollar losses, sat through waves of skepticism and jokes. He was clearly willing to endure a lot, as long as there was a chance the world in headsets would eventually arrive. And yet, in early 2026, his own company tried to quietly pull that dream out of VR and hide it on the phone, the place where people were already comfortable. When that move triggered open resistance, Meta settled for a compromise. The VR world survived on paper, but the main storyline shifted back to where our lives already are: the smartphone screen. And to a new obsession that is now consuming the entire industry: AI. Somewhere between the glossy Metaverse trailers and this almost invisible reversal, something very simple but very important happened. The real world refused to follow someone else's vision. People did not move their lives into VR. They did not want to spend hours in a headset. They still wanted the future, but in a format that felt comfortable on their own devices, without rewriting their daily routines from scratch. Meta couldn't force that. It turned out that no budget, not even tens of billions of dollars, can make ordinary people live inside a world that for them remains a beautiful but foreign fantasy. In the end, the pressure of reality pushed the company back to the place it was trying to escape: the flat screen, the phone, the endless scroll. Today, the metaverse is technically still there. Worlds still load. Avatars still move. The community is still alive, but the moment when it could have become our new default has already passed, and most people never even noticed. Somewhere inside Meta, the company that wanted to build the next internet is doing something very old: cutting losses, changing course, and chasing the next wave, the AI wave, while pretending the last storm simply wasn't that important. Most people thought the metaverse was going to change their lives. In the end, it changed something else. It forced one of the most powerful CEOs in tech to admit, not in words, but in actions, that even an $80 billion vision is worth nothing if people refuse to live inside it. And that leaves one question hanging over all of us. If the next big future shows up tomorrow, How will you decide whether it's your new home or just someone else's very expensive dream?